What about...
Replicators.
We've already had it.
We've had one, yes. What about second...
Replicators.
Hello and welcome to another Stargate video. I've always found it odd that Stargate had two factions that are called the same thing. Sure, there are some big differences between the two, such as one of them having a proper name, which by the way is how I'm going to differentiate the two. If I say a CERN, I'm talking about the Pegasus Replicators. If I say Replicators, I'm talking about the Milky Way Replicators. Anyway, I just found it odd they reused the same concept twice. Self-replicating robots that end up being arguably the biggest threat to the other factions. Then again, SG-1 did a similar thing with Anubis and Sokar, so I guess it's not really out of place for them to reuse ideas. Naturally, when you have two factions that are very similar to each other, you have to wonder what would happen if the two ever met. And I think there's a very cool way to have the two meet. At the end of the New Order two-parter, Fifth and his replicators were forced to flee due to the replicator disruptor cannon. They wouldn't be seen again until replicator Sam came to the SGC for help, betraying them and Fifth, and later launching an invasion of the Milky Way. For a brief moment between those two events, their whereabouts and doings were unknown. I think it's reasonable to assume they would probably avoid any galaxy that has a known Asgard or Tari presence while they built up their forces. And look at that, there's a galaxy in the local group that would fit their needs perfectly, the Pegasus Galaxy. Now yes, at this time Atlantis was in its first season, so there was a Tari presence in Pegasus, but it's kind of small and I'd imagine the replicators wouldn't know about that. This would mean the Wraith were more active at this time, so odds are these replicators would run into them. But for the sake of this scenario, let's say they just don't. That raises so many other questions, and I want to keep it simple for this video. Machine-on-machine violence. And through the power of plot, the replicators stumble across the CERN homeworld and meet the replicators of this galaxy. I'd imagine the interaction either going this way...
We come from you, barely. I am the son of Eve.
A pathetic mutt. Hardly one of us.
Or like this.
There is no place for you among us.
But you're my kind, you're my family.
No, I think not.
I know basically the same thing is happening here, just different levels of anger, but I couldn't tell which scene was more fitting. What do you all think? Which was more fitting or likely to happen? Regardless, why do I think this meeting would go bad? While Rodney did say the two could be related to one another, it would kind of be a distant relation. To give a quick rundown of where each group comes from, the Asurans were accidentally created when the Lanteans were attempting to make a nanovirus to fight the Wraith. Eventually, they conclude the Asurans would never be the weapon they wanted and attempted to destroy them. The Asurans survived and developed their own civilization, though one that copies a lot from their creators. The Milky Way replicators are a bit more confusing in their history. Their origin starts with an android named Reese. We don't know who made her. The big two theories I've seen is either it was an advanced human civilization, or a group of Lanteans who returned from Pegasus after the war. What we do know is that besides her father, the people of the world feared her. She made the replicators as toys, but the people grew to fear her and her toys more and more. She would teach her toys to protect her and themselves, but in order to do this, they began to self-replicate. Reese lost control of them, and they destroyed everyone and everything on the planet minus Reese herself. They somehow managed to get from the Milky Way galaxy to the Asgard home galaxy and got into a war with the Asgard. Eventually, the Asgard trapped the replicators on Hala using the remains of Reese in a time dilation bubble. The idea was to slow time in the bubble, trapping them there while the Asgard tried to find a more permanent solution. However, by studying Reese, the bug replicators created a human form replicator who could not only stop the device, but reverse it to serve their own needs. I think the two very different histories and origins of these machines would lead to conflict between the two. Now, Fifth I can see being happy at meeting the Asurans. Fifth was bullied and looked down upon by the other human replicators because he was more human-like. This, along with Sam betraying him, has left him with a certain anger at the world, but we know he was still capable of showing some compassion. If Fifth met other beings like him, he might finally get that happy ending of acceptance. However, there are a few things standing in the way. First, some Asurans might be willing to be nice to him, either because they see him as a fellow machine or because of his humanity. We know that some Asurans were looking to ascend. In the Atlantis episode This Mortal Coil, this faction of Asurans created copies of key members of the Atlantis expedition to study their humanity or soul. While Copy Weir said that's something that cannot be acquired through studying others, Fifth kind of proves her wrong. The reason he was more human was due to the replicators attempting to fix the emotional problems in Reese. So in this context, humanity is something that can be programmed or coded into a machine. These Asurans might want to learn more about him to achieve this. Granted, this could lead them to attempting to dissect him. After all, if humanity is something that can be programmed, then it would be the easiest way to get it. However, the Asurans that want this are a minority among their people. The majority would probably follow Oberoth, who would probably dislike Fifth and the other Milky Way replicators for various reasons. Oberoth would view that humanity in Fifth as dangerous, given he called for Weir's death after she became one of them, and her humanity was showing an influence on any Asuran she connected with. For the other Milky Way replicators, he might just view them as lesser things. Keep in mind, the Asurans had been around for at least 10,000 years and have their own society. Meanwhile, the human form replicators only came into being like a few years ago in the show. Not counting the time spent in the time bubble, they really don't have any form of society or culture. Their origin could also cause conflict. Like I said, we're not sure who made Reese. If she was made by humans, I could see some Asurans disliking the replicators since they were made by humans. Most Asurans don't have a good view of humans, seeing them as the favorite sibling that gets all the parents' attention. If she was made by Lanteans, I could see the Asurans being angry over this. Their creators betrayed them, and not only do they favor humans over them, but they went off and made some new robot species. Albeit it's not a direct creation, as it was Reese who made the replicators and not the Ancients. However, that origin of theirs might give the Asurans a very justified reason for distrusting the replicators. There's this interesting idea that if human-made AI starts to make their own AI, it could be very bad, as the newer AI will have little care for humans compared to the first generation of AI. I first heard about this idea in a Warhammer 40k video, where the lore is that humanity made the Men of Stone, some kind of cyborg race as I understand it. These Men of Stone made the Men of Iron, who were true AI, who went on to destroy their creators and rebelled against humanity. With the Asurans, they were made directly by organics. The human replicators, on the other hand, were made by the bug replicators, who were made by Reese, who were made by some unknown person. So not only is there a few degrees of separation, but also consider that Reese lost control of the original replicators. So Oberoth and the others might have a very good reason to not trust these newcomers, and this feeling of dislike could go both ways. Assuming Fifth isn't immediately rejected, he might be willing to try and live or be at peace with the Asurans. The other replicators, probably not. The first 4 human replicators seem to believe in this idea that they were superior to others, that they needed to expand out, build their numbers, survival of the fittest, and all that. Granted, it's likely those 4 are dead, but we know there are other human replicators, such as Replicator Sam, who felt Fifth was weak and unworthy to lead them. I can see the rest of these replicators viewing the Asurans as, at worst, weak, as instead of spreading out and dominating the galaxy, they are just sitting on their homeworld doing nothing. Now granted, this was due to Wraith meddling, but they didn't know that. At best, they would view them as some kind of rival, a competitor who could challenge them. So there's a few different ways a fight could break out between the two groups. Either the Asurans would reject Fifth and he lashes out in anger, maybe some Asurans attempt to kidnap Fifth to study him, or Replicator Sam would take this moment to betray Fifth and attack the Asurans. A kind of interesting idea I had was a 3-way battle breaking out. One side is Oberoth and the main Asuran forces, Replicator Sam and the main Milky Way forces, and finally a third group made up of the dissidents of the 2 other groups. Though this third faction would probably just be the Asurans looking for Ascension and Fifth, I doubt this third group would do much fighting. They would probably flee the battle and let the other 2 knock heads. Keeping with the main idea though, who would win in this hypothetical battle between 2 of the biggest machine threats in the Stargate universe? I struggled with this for a little bit because both sides have certain advantages over the other. The Asurans are more advanced than the Replicators. Not just technologically, though their tech is around the same level as the Lanteans, so they are pretty powerful, but also with their own abilities. The Asurans were able to adapt to anti-replicator weapons within just a few minutes of exposure. Meanwhile, the Replicators needed to examine the specs of the weapon for hours to create a working defense. However, at the same time I say that, the Replicators are able to assimilate other technologies relatively quickly. There's a few details like that, but if I had to narrow it down and pick a winner, I'd give it to the Replicators, and it comes down to a few reasons. First, is while there's definitely more Asurans than human Replicators, the human Replicators have access and command over their bug brethren, which, as their name suggests, can replicate quickly, and the Asurans have a big issue here. While the Replicators can make their ships out of their blocks, or just take over others, Asuran ships and buildings were made out of normal materials. Materials the bug Replicators can eat, and if this were to happen, then the Replicators would get access to that Lantean level of technology. On top of that, the bug Replicators can absorb large amounts of energy, meaning energy weapons don't have much of an effect on them. So while yes, the Asurans are technologically more advanced than the Replicators, they can close the gap pretty quickly, and resistance to energy weapons would be hard to get around. Now yes, the Asurans are also immune or really resistant to various forms of weaponry, but their machine nature could make them vulnerable to the Replicators, which I'll talk about later. The Replicators also don't really use weaponry, at least in ground combat, and don't need to fight the Asurans, at least not at first. What they need to do is consume and adapt Asuran technology into them, and from there they could find various ways to eliminate the Asurans. They could just use that one strategy they used on the Asgard and let their ship be blown up and fall onto the planet and begin the assimilation from there. It might take time given the advanced and foreign technology, but the Replicators have shown they can learn and assimilate such technology. Another factor to consider is where both groups were before first contact. The Replicators were in the process of building up their fleets and numbers for a wider invasion of the Milky Way. Meanwhile, the Asurans were just kind of chilling on their home planet. That's not to say they didn't have any defenses like ships or anything, but they seem to have only started to build up their military forces when they met the expedition and later went to war with the Wraith. In a hypothetical battle or outright war where both sides had time to build up their forces, it would be a bit more even, but the Replicators' ability to assimilate technology is a massive advantage. I feel that this war would just turn into another version of the Asgard Replicator War. I will be fair to the Asurans, as there are a few ways they could win this fight. First is that while the Replicators are immune to energy weapons, physical weapons like bullets do work. While the Asurans don't have bullets, they are stronger than humans and might have to do some bug stomping. Though a big question to ask here is if the bug Replicators can consume Asurans. I feel like since the Asuran bodies are made up of millions of nanites, the answer would be no, though these nanites could be the solution for an Asuran victory. We know these nanites can affect living beings and convert them, so who's to say the same thing couldn't happen with a machine? Maybe the bugs can consume Asurans, but the nanites infect the bugs and turn them to work for the Asuran. The only problem with this idea is this is a theory of what they could do versus what we know they can do. We've never seen them infect a machine. The closest example I could find was in the Ghost in the Machine episode, but this was after some Asurans had uploaded themselves into subspace. They could try and hack the bugs for control, but to be honest, I don't see that working. Oddly enough, from what I could find, the Replicators have a history of hacking other technologies, but the Asurans only seem to be able to take control of ancient technology, and that is probably because they are also ancient technology and just know how to operate it. A big weakness the Asurans have is they seem to be limited by their programming. They weren't allowed to harm their creators or take the form of pre-existing beings. Now, they were able to make changes to their code that let them do these things, but only after McKay made changes to their code. And in this situation I've set up, this battle will happen before that. The Replicators, on the other hand, seem to have no issue with their code limiting them, and we did see them alter their code as they did so with Fifth. Now, again, in a more even fight where the Asurans could change their code, this might level the playing field, but as it stands, the Replicators get a bit of an edge here. One final Hail Mary the Asurans could try is to make their own version of the bug Replicators, which would be very interesting to see. The only thing is, the Assurans only seem to mimic the tech of their creators. I don't want to say they can't make new technology or devices, they did make that satellite weapon, but given how the scenario is set up, I'm not sure they have time to figure out how to make their own bugs. Overall, if I had to pick, I'd say the Replicators would win in the end due to their ability to assimilate other technologies. And honestly, that would be terrifying as the Replicators would now have access to Lantean-era tech for their invasion of the Milky Way. I don't think that would make them immune to the Dakar device, but they might have a greater understanding of how the tech works, and maybe in some twisted reality, they gain access to it faster than the SGC. But what do you all think? Do you think the Replicators would win in a battle with the Assurans, or do you think the Assurans would win? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, leave a like and subscribe, follow me on my social medias, and remember...
I've already begun uploading it into the link. Soon all my brethren will have the new program, and they will be unstoppable.
Good for you. Your desire to protect your people is admirable. But you will, ultimately, fail.
I am what I am because of you.
Despite your desire, this is a fight for which you are clearly ill-equipped.
Replicators.